call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Brad Katona takes on Bekzat Almakhan this Saturday at UFC 315. And I think this is a sleeper fight, honestly. I think this is going to be a really fun, action-packed fight at 135 pounds. Brad Katona going to have a little bit more experience in the UFC, coming off the Ultimate Fighter series. Had about 4 fights in the UFC. In his most current stint, had 4 fights back in the day, 2018 to 2019. So definitely going to have the experience edge, taking on Bekzat Almakhan, making his second appearance in the UFC after a late notice fight against Umar Nurmagomedov. So probably worst case scenario in terms of taking a fight on short notice. But Brad Katona, coming off of a loss to Jean Matsumoto in an absolute war. It was a very entertaining fight between those guys. I think Jean Matsumoto is very good, and Brad Katona was able to, hold his own in that fight. And it was very close. Unanimous decision going to Jean Matsumoto, but I thought it was a really close fight. Before that, beat Jesse Butler, kind of just out-grappled him the entire fight. Lost to Garrett Armfield before that, and beat Cody Gibson the fight before that. So kind of a decision machine. Haven't seen a finish from him since the regional scene back in 2021. But Brad Katona, he's 33 years old, still in his prime. He's 5'6" with a 64-inch reach, which is just insane. That's probably the smallest reach I've seen relative to height. That's as if he's 5'4", which is just crazy. Usually guys have at least the equivalency of their height, which would be 66 inches in this case. But he's 2 inches short on that, which is just insane. And 14-4 record. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt fighting out of SBG Ireland, which is John Kavanagh's group, known for Johnny Walker and obviously Conor McGregor. But very well-rounded guy, feints very well, kind of leaps in to fake and feint to set up his offense, moves well to keep his opponents guessing. Has really good lateral movement back and forth. We saw that against Jean Matsumoto, trying to kind of pull guys into his hooks and set traps for him. Very good chin. Was getting cracked several times by Jean Matsumoto, especially in the first round. Never got dropped, anything like that. I don't think I've ever seen him get dropped in any of his UFC fights, but landed a beautiful step and elbow on Jean Matsumoto. Was having some decent success with his right hand, and good takedown defense against him as well. There was a lot of clinch work along the fence, and they both kind of handled themselves, very well in those situations. Checks kicks very well. Where you're seeing that against Matsumoto, kind of got him to completely stop kicking just because he was checking every single one he threw. And can push a really high pace, put a lot of volume out there, clinch, grapple, shoot a lot of takedowns, and can still throw with power and look to finish the fight. And I don't think cardio is really an issue with Brad Katona. He's very high level, very well rounded, and I don't see a lot of chinks in his armor necessarily. He's very versatile and good everywhere. And had a really good showing, like I said, against Jean Matsumoto, who I think is very good, coming off of a that last performance against Rob Font where he lost. But I think Jean Matsumoto's got a bright future, so no shame in that loss. But I do look at his career, and it's like, not the best wins, not the best competition that he's faced. Lost to Merab Dvalishvili, Hunter Azura, Garrett Armfield, Jean Matsumoto. So it seems like whenever he's kind of fighting the elite of the elite, he's losing. And then beating, the Jesse Butlers, the Cody Gibsons of the world, Carlos Vera, winning on the regional scene. But when he comes into the UFC, he's beating kind of low-level competition. Does have a win over Bryce Mitchell back in 2018, though, and Kyler Phillips, which is good. But Bekzat Almakhan, now this guy, he's kind of the 135-pound Shavkat is the way that I see him. He's from Kazakhstan, very well-rounded, good grappling, good striking, just very, very dangerous dude. Taking that fight against Umar Nurmagomedov on like 2 weeks notice because Corey Sandhagen backed out, and he had a really good showing of himself, probably better than a lot of guys who fight Umar Nurmagomedov on full camps. He dropped him early in the first round, kind of went in for the kill, got taken down, and that was kind of the story of the fight, him just getting taken down and kind of controlled. But has really good kicks to the body and high kicks, throws super hard shots, has a lot of finishing potential on the feet. Showed decent takedown defense in some of his regional scenes in the wrestling. Like, it was kind of he looked much better on the regional scene with his grappling than he did against Umar. But again, he took it on short notice, and Umar, he does that to everybody, but he was still able to explode and get up from Umar's takedowns and stay safe on the ground, didn't take tons of damage. So had a really good showing of himself in that one. And like I said, on his regional scenes, you look through his record, he's fighting pretty good guys, and getting a lot of finishes by TKO. Not the biggest submission threat in the world, but does have very good wrestling. We were seeing that in even his most recent fights defending a lot of takedowns, getting his own takedowns, and just showed a really good chin. He got dropped bad in the first round of one of his most, I think it was against Mateusz Gloria, got dropped bad in the first round and was able to come back and head kick knock out the guy in the second round. So I trust his chin. He was taking shots from Umar, taking ground and pound, and I think he gets this one done. I do. You know, Katona, he's got more experience in the UFC, but again, he was taking a lot of shots from Jean Matsumoto. Lost to Garen Armfield, who I think is very similar to Bekzat in that he's a good striker and a good wrestler, all around very good, can mix it up, and I feel like that's kind of the recipe for a loss for Brad Katona. I just think Bekzat's a little bit better on the feet. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in the stand-up where he's looking to do most of his work. I think he's got more power. I think he's faster. I think he's going to be able to defend the takedowns when Katona shoots, because he does like to mix it up. If he's not getting off on his stand-up, he'll look to clinch and kind of slow you down or get you to the ground and work from there. We saw him do that against Jean Matsumoto and Jesse Butler in his last 2 fights, and I just think Bekzat's too good. I think he's one of those guys coming in from the European scene, from Kazakhstan, who's going to make a name for himself. He's only 27 years old, not even really into his prime yet. So think of this, a Kazakh who's 11-2, 27 years old, gave Umar probably one of the toughest fights that he's had outside of the Merab fight, and did that on 2 weeks' notice. And I know I always like to remind myself that, you know, Umar took it on 2 weeks' notice too, but Umar was also in training camp, and he was training for Corey Sandhagen, who's a very good striker who can do everything very well. And Bekzat came into it blind, you know, 2 weeks' notice, and almost got Umar out of there within the first minute. So I think he would have a lot better success against Umar if he was able to game plan for him, strategize a camp around defending takedowns and keeping it on the feet, because he's a devastating striker. I think he's very high level, and I think he gets this one done. I think he can finish Brad Katona. Katona is hittable. He can be we've seen in the past him getting tagged by guys, and he's got a good chin, but at some point that chin's gonna go. And I think Bekzat Almakhan is definitely gonna test that chin and probably put him out in this one. He's like I said, devastating striker, great high kicks, great hands. He's gonna be able to keep it on the feet, and I think he's eventually gonna find Katona's chin and put him out, because I just don't think Katona's fought the level of competition that Bekzat's gonna bring. He did fight Jean Matsumoto again, but he lost that fight. So I think Bekzat Almakhan gets this one done. I think he can finish Brad Katona on the feet. Worst case, get a decision. Thanks.